Alright, so I thought I would provide a little bit of an update. I pulled this tarp back and ran the tiller through here a few times just to break up the rest of the grass that was remaining. The plan was to re-tarp this for a couple more weeks, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. I might re-tarp part of it, but I've got so much lettuce ready to go in the ground, which I'll show you here in a minute, that I really just don't think I'm going to have time for that. So I'm probably going to have to put at least a few beds in here, which, you know, that's okay because I use weed guard. I plant my lettuce into weed guard like I did over here. So it won't be the end of the world if I have to do it through there. At least I'll be suppressing the weeds somewhat on that part of that bed. So the spinach continues to go along. It's growing kind of slow, especially compared to the other greens, and it's been up for quite a bit longer. The arugula, once again, it was very spotty, and it's not growing terribly fast either. But the Mizuna is growing the best out of everything, really. But unfortunately, what I found yesterday is I'm dealing with some flea beetles. Or at least that's what I assume based on what I've read. So here you can see some damage. But where the big damage is on the tetsoi. I mean, it's just rocking this tetsoi. Which, again, from reading, flea beetles love tetsoi above all else. So, it's just all of it has holes. So, I'm going to use the fact that it's an attractant to my advantage. And I'm going to get some of the fossilized algae earth powder. I can't remember the first name of that. And I'm going to bring it in here and powder all of this. So hopefully the tatsoi keeps drawing it in, and then that'll kill off the flea beetles. I actually think I just saw the first flea beetle walking across the dirt. Previously I hadn't really seen them. I had just seen the damage they had done. So this bed was originally planted as carrots. I came through yesterday and flame weeded this entire bed because the carrots were very spotty with germination, and they've been in the ground for over a month. So I flame weeded this. I'm going to come through and hit it with a stirrup hoe just to finish that off. This bed has Scarlet Queen turnips in it, and I can see some of them germinating, but not a ton. So I'll just have to monitor that. But the watermelon radishes are coming up really well. So there's at least that. So I need to open up the greenhouse because it gets pretty warm pretty quick in here. So, lots of tomatoes. Not as many tomatoes as I've done in the past, but one thing I've learned in reading Curtis Stone's book, The Urban Farmer, and watching a ton of his videos, is tomatoes are great because they bring in customers at the farmer's market. Everybody loves them, and they're just really popular. But they take up a lot of space for the entire season, and they require a lot of work. So I stuck mainly to 4 different varieties of cherry tomato. One that stays true blue when ripe, one that ripens from purple to red, so it'll be half and half. One called Coyote that is yellow and really prolific from what I read, and then another one called Isis Candy. And Isis Candy is like a speckled orange and yellow tomato. Also have basil going, green and purple, although the green really hasn't done nearly as well as the purple. And as you saw on the trailer, I had kale, so this is Tuscan kale. So the kale probably can go in the ground fairly soon. The basil I want to let go a little bit longer. And then these are Mexican gherkins or cucamelons. So again, it's a crop that pretty much takes all season and takes up some space because I got to put up trellis. But I have the fencing and the stakes for the trellising, and I've never seen anybody else sell these in the grocery store or the market. So hopefully that'll bring in again customers just because of the oddity of it. All right, so this is my home plot, and pulling back the tarp, it looks like there's still some residue from the winter vetch and winter rye. So it's not too bad. So I think I'm just going to leave this covered and hope over the next couple weeks that burns off. If I put a couple beds in the other plot into production early, then that buys me a couple more weeks letting this plot stay covered. And while I'm down here, I'll show you my compost bins. So I work with a local restaurant named Local Roots here in town on a compost program. So every week I take them 5-gallon buckets and they fill them up with all of their vegetable kitchen scraps and eggshells, and then I dump them and then cover them with some dry straw. So trying to mix that green with brown to make sure that there is some brown mixed in so that it'll compost down. Once I pull this tarp back, I'll actually have to add another 3 pallets so that I can turn these. And what I'll do is I'll turn this one into the new one, turn this one into this one, and then I'll start adding in the new compost into that bin, and then I'll just be able to keep rotating it like that. Well, all right. There's a lot to do today, so let's get this party started. Oh yeah, a couple other things that I forgot to mention. So, while I am attacking the flea beetles, it's hopefully to suppress the population, but I also ordered some Agribon and some row hoops. So the next plantings will be covered. I won't take any chance. But I also think I'm done with Tetsoi until maybe the fall. I don't know how well it'll sell around here. I know that I can sell some to my restaurants, but I need things that are also going to bring in customers to the farmer's market. The other thing is, when I tilled this plot, I noticed that I'm only getting about 3 inches into the ground below the initial top 3 inches or so. The ground is still wet, so it's just doing like ribbons and it's not actually breaking up the dirt. So I have a broad fork coming today, and I plan on broad forking this entire plot, or at least the parts of the plot that I want to put beds into. I plan on forking those, so hopefully that'll get some oxygen in there and help break up the dirt, because believe it or not, looking at this and seeing how much I've tilled it, I actually do plan to convert to no-till and just use broad fork and tilther. But I needed to at least bust up the grass that was in here before that. And then beyond that, I don't think I'm going to have time to do it since I need to get into production so quickly. But probably in the fall, I'll bring in a ton of compost, like I did on that bed over there. I'll bring in about 3 inches of compost to put on top.